Texas A&M, Mississippi State, Saturday, 4 o'clock kickoff Eastern. You know where this game's airing? SEC Network. I thought it was on a different platform. I'm just going to be honest with you. So what's the perception versus reality here? What do you think about this game? If you're busy living your life and you know what you read in the preseason magazines about these teams, what do you think? Well, what you probably don't think is Mississippi State's favored by over a field goal. That's probably not what you think, but that's the reality here. We hopped on them earlier this week at -2, and it crossed 3, and it's up to 3.5 or 4, depending on where you look. I know this is huge for Jimbo Fisher, and everyone knows it's huge. If he has his second loss already before they play Bama next week, I don't think I need to waste a lot of time explaining to you what the mood around the program would be. In fact, Sunday night we may be doing a Texas A&M mood tracker update if they do indeed lose this game. But here's what I don't think a lot of people are talking about. This is a really underrated, huge game for Mike Leach. And I know a lot of you probably don't pay a lot of attention to the pulse of the Mississippi State fan base. However, I do. And it may surprise you to know a lot of people are saying this is a must-win. Now, they never actually mean must-win. Because in our world, on this show, when you tell us a game is must-win, that only applies if the coach is going to lose his job if he loses the game. Well, Mike Leach is not losing his job or anything like that. But there are a lot of folks in Mississippi State circles who look at the LSU game a couple of weeks ago, and they're very peeved that they lost that one. They don't think they should have lost it, but they did. And they think they've got a special team this year, and I happen to agree with them. But that doesn't mean anything if it's written on paper. You got to get it done on the field. And they're saying to themselves, well, if this guy, Mike Leach, of course, if this guy doesn't win this game, we're already a 2-loss team. We've still got the rest of our conference slate to play. How are we going to be any better than 7-5? That's the reason they play them. That's why they get paid a lot of money down here. It's a pressure cooker of an environment. So there's a lot of pressure on both head coaches, is what I'm trying to tell you, not just Jimbo. How does Texas A&M do what LSU did? Speaking of which, Mississippi State went down there in Baton Rouge. They lost a couple of weeks ago. How does Texas A&M do that? Well, there were two things LSU accomplished that it's going to be tough, quite frankly, for Texas A&M to accomplish. Number one, Jaden Daniels, the quarterback at LSU, I thought played the best game we've seen him play, all things considered. He may have had a better statistical game or two at Arizona State, given the circumstances and given the quality of opposition. I thought it was the best we've seen him play. He went 22 of 37, 210 yards through the air and a touchdown. He ran for another 93 yards on 16 carries. So he, in many ways, was the LSU offense that night. But here's the second thing that happened. And this is something A&M can pull off. LSU's defense won third down so decisively that night. Mississippi State was held to 3 of 14 on third down. So here's the blueprint. Own third downs defensively, get them off the field, and have your quarterback play the best game of his year so far, that being Max Johnson for Texas A&M. You do that, you got a good shot to win. Sounds so easy. I'm telling you, I just said that. It was so easy for me to say. It's a lot different. Also, it's the first true road environment that A&M's gone into this year. 24 points has been enough against, well, for every FBS team that's played A&M this year. You score 24, as it turns out, that's good enough for you to win. So can Mississippi State do that? They didn't versus LSU. Can they do that? Mississippi State's style, unfortunately, kind of cancels out one of the edges that other teams have had against A&M. Teams have secretly kind of been able to run the ball on A&M. Mississippi State barely even believes in the word run. They certainly don't do it to a high degree at all. So if they were to run the ball effectively, it would be totally averse to whatever we've become accustomed to with them. But what they can do, or what they'll need to do, is the same thing they did in this game last year. Remember, State went into College Station and won last year, and the reason was due in large part to Will Rogers throwing it for 408 yards and 3 touchdowns. Now, A&M's pass defense is the best in the SEC so far this year. So far. Have they faced a quarterback or have they faced an offense as uniquely equipped to victimize you through the air as Mississippi State? No, they haven't yet. But we've already seen Mississippi State struggle to victimize LSU. Who's to say that Texas A&M doesn't come in and shut them down even more? So anyway, those are the respective challenges on the table. Here are a couple of wild cards. The first is A&M's without Aniyah Smith. He is gone for the year. We're pulling for him. He had successful surgery the other day. He's out for the year. He was their leading receiver. Evan Stewart's back. He needs to have a big game. But Aniyah Smith, I know folks at A&M are talking about him. I haven't heard enough national talk about him this week. That is a huge blow for Texas A&M. The other thing to keep in mind as a wild card is A&M very well could just totally lock down the red zone defensively in this game. Mississippi State needs to score on big explosive plays. They need to get some sevens from midfield, 40, 45-yard line. They need to strike through the air, big plays. I don't think they're going to break off many big runs, but that's where they can get it done. That's where the difference in the game can happen. Scoring touchdowns from outside the red zone. Once that field constricts a little bit on them, I don't necessarily like their odds as much down there. A lot of those crossing routes, I think A&M's defensive front can be plenty enough disruptive where those linebackers can just sink really aggravatingly, take away all those crossers in the middle, and either just make you fade your way to scoring or settle for threes. And that may not be good enough in this game. So let's take a look at what Vegas thinks. Let's take a look at what the model thinks. As I told you, the line is Mississippi State -4 right now. And there was kind of a spoiler alert already earlier this week because Mississippi State's one of our best bets. Now, we got him at -2, and you see why. Our model likes Mississippi State -6.5. There are a lot of dynamics here. It is indeed a look-ahead spot for A&M with Bama on deck. It's their second road game in a row because when we say road game, I mean, did you have to get on a plane to go somewhere? Or did you have to get on a bus for an extended period to go somewhere? A&M played in Dallas last week, Arlington to be exact, and they're going to Starkville this week. They'll be in Tuscaloosa next week. It is absurd, by the way, absolutely inexcusable that a major college football program is ever on the road 3 consecutive weeks. That's just me talking, okay? So that's what they gave us. I don't get to make the schedules, unfortunately, yet. That's what they gave us. We're going to take Mississippi State to win. We're going to take them to cover. And if that does happen, don't miss the Sunday show, is my advice. Thanks for watching, guys. Don't leave yet. Don't leave yet. Make sure you like the video and please subscribe to the channel. Not just for me, that's how we keep this entire thing free.